Welcome back to another episode of the Stephen Sulley Study. I've got my next guest, David Cotterill. Cotterill.
Right,
Okay. As the viewers know, I'm absolutely terrible with names and stuff. Anyway, so used to be a professional footballer up until recently. I know you've got a foundation, which I'm going to talk about. I want this podcast to be, inspiring to a younger demographic. I think the definition of wisdom is learning from other people's experiences, whether they're good or whether they're not so good. I think there's always lessons there. I know you've had your fair shares of ups and downs, so have we all. And I think it's important to talk about them. And also like the mindset about becoming a success, becoming an athlete and achieving certain things. So anyway, welcome on board, mate.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for your time. So where should we start? Football then. I've had a few footballers on the podcast. I've had a few athletes on the podcast. We spoke about Ted Cheeseman. He was one of my guests probably about 18 months ago. Love that guy. I've got so much respect for him. Harlem Eubank, who's fighting this weekend. We're actually sponsoring him, Woodbury House. And then I've had Anton Ferdinand. I'm trying to get Jody Morris on at the moment. Okay. I'm badgering him because he's one of our clients. I think the point I'm making here is in business, I always tell the sales consultants, if you want to get inspired and have the right mindset, yes, business books will help you do that, but always listen to an athlete because they've always got that do or die mentality. They're the ones that go out there, put the hard graft in, and whether they're on a football pitch or whether they're in a boxing ring, these are the people that grind out results, and they're the kind of people that you want to be speaking to. So hence why I reached out to you.
Yeah, I think, do you know what, on that point as well, I always say, I think that's what's probably helped me with my recovery from my addiction with alcoholism. Because I knew that I had that mindset of being a professional footballer, even from like the age of 6 to like the last time I remember, I knew that I was going to be a footballer at the age of 6. I know some people might think that's arrogant, but I knew what I wanted, and I knew that I'd practiced enough to make sure that I'd achieve those goals. And I think with my addiction, it's kind of like, I knew I could become a footballer, and I've used that mindset as well to make sure my recovery stayed on track,
All right. So that's interesting. 6 years of age. I don't even think I could remember back then.
Yeah,
what I was doing.
I just always had a ball at my feet, and I just knew from that age I wanted something different because I'd always use, my dad was a very good footballer, but then he chose like alcohol over like playing football, etc. So I kind of like use, I wouldn't say other people's failures, because I wouldn't say his life has been a failure, because he's still married to my mum. He's had beautiful kids, beautiful grandkids. But I kind of used that, especially the football side of things, thinking I didn't want to be another family member who's not become a footballer. Because everyone goes to the pub, everyone's like, oh my God, they've had trials of this, they've done this, they've done that. But yeah, but you didn't make it as a footballer. There's a difference. Everyone's had a trial, but not many people have made it.
I was going to say this, and I'm not trying to knock anyone that has got to a certain point in any walk of life or any craft, and certainly football, but the amount of times I've heard people say, oh yeah, he was scouted by Chelsea or whatever, but then he's doing nothing, or I was once looked at by this and that, and it's all well and good name dropping, but like, where are you now? What are you doing right now? And that sometimes people, it's not knocking or hating, it's okay, that's great, but what the fuck are you doing right now? And I think that's quite an important point that you raised.
Yeah, no, it is. I think, as you say, even when like the World Cup is on and things, everyone's a football manager in the pub or in the local restaurants, etc. It's like, well, you're not the manager. There's a difference of being in that hot seat and having that pressure, because being a footballer, everyone thinks they can do it, but very few people actually achieve that. So I think, athletes from obviously every sport and background need to have that kind of like respect, because there's different levels to the game. I play football part-time now, and, the semi-pro, and they think that they look at other players who are playing in the Premier League, and, you hear the judgments on them, and you just think, well, there's a reason why they're at that top level, is because they do it day in, day out, and they're very successful, and they're very, they're just obviously better in every way. Yeah.
There's so many things I want to touch on there, but before we do, just to kind of set the scene for me and the audience. So your background then, you said about 6 years of age, you want to become a footballer.
Yeah.
You're from Wales?
Cardiff, yeah.
Yeah, Cardiff. I had the pleasure a few years ago before my son was born, travelling around Wales. I'm digressing here, but I went to Santorini, right? Yeah. This is going to sound really strange. I went to Santorini probably 2015, I would say, 16.
Okay.
Beautiful place. Like, you can hear a pin drop. It's honestly,
I went to Mykonos, which is nearby.
Yeah. It's more of a more party than Santorini, but still very, very lovely.
Yeah.
Anyway, someone went to me, said, if you want to see true beauty, but only around the corner, go to Wales. And I can't remember the area now, but it was like Santorini, and I couldn't believe it. It was absolutely beautiful. And I think part of the reason why I'm saying it is because sometimes you don't realise how many cool spots there are around the UK, and Wales is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I think probably during lockdown, actually, I was looking for walks to go to because when I feel like mentally stressed, or I'm just like, I just need a routine, and going for walks was definitely one of those things. And you just realise how many beautiful spots there are nearby, but we just don't really look nearby because we always want to go travelling elsewhere. But I think, especially in Wales and in Cardiff, I do feel, fortunate to live in some nice places.
Yeah. So you want to become a footballer. You said that your dad was a pretty good footballer, but didn't quite make it. Siblings and stuff. I mean, what was life like when you were younger, like 6, 7, 8, 10, and in your teens?
Yeah, it was good. Like, I had a good upbringing, I think. It was very, it was a lot of pressure on my shoulders, though, from a very young age. If I wasn't practicing with football, then my dad would soon let me know, why the fuck you're not practicing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I can't, from the age of 10, when I got first picked up by Bristol City's academy, I think that's when he started to step on the heat a little bit more. It's kind of like, you need to practice, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so from that point of view, I don't feel like I had a lot of time with my friends because I was always training. We were traveling to Bristol like 4 times a week, and we play. Say for example, we played against Chelsea's academy or Manchester United's academy. We'd always have to travel around. So from that point of view, my childhood did get taken away from me, but my main objective was being a footballer. And if I did have a bad game, I'd fucking know about it all the way home from my dad. And it was just like 4 hours in a car of just getting hammered, mentally hammered. It was draining, really. But I suppose you do need that push because, he wanted me to succeed, and he didn't want me to probably like be, rest of the other people maybe in my local area where there's been a lot of good footballers, but they didn't follow through with it. So from that point of view, it was the main driving force. But for me personally, I didn't feel like I needed it because I was already practicing all the time. I knew what I wanted to do. And it's like in life, no one wakes up and thinks, right, I'm going to fucking walk out this door and have a shit day or be shit at something, because no one wants to fail. So it was like when I played badly in a game, I'd say to him, well, I didn't really mean to go and play badly. It's just one of those days. And he's like, well, what do you mean it's one of those days? But as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, I didn't have the answers. And unfortunately, it didn't really sit down well with him. But I suppose that pressure and that kind of like driving force made me probably use that in a different way to think, well, I am going to make it as a footballer. And when I do, I can tell you to shut up then, because I'm the footballer now and you're not.
Yeah. I want to ask you about this, actually. So I'm a father. I know you're a father too, yeah?
3, yeah.
3. All right,
yeah.
Congrats, mate.
I
just had my baby number 2, Logan, only 6 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
1st of September. Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit stressed about it. He's keeping us all awake. But I have a bit of, I want to say this in the most respectful way. So my father-in-law is definitely cut from a different cloth than me. Doesn't mean he's better or worse than me, and vice versa. It's just we are different views.
Yeah.
He's very sort of take life as it comes. I wouldn't say so goal driven, not really that driven, much, but he's quite happy with how he does stuff, which is great. In actual fact, he's a success in his own right because he's happy doing what he's doing. Whereas me, I'm like, I need to set goals, train all the time. Yeah. He doesn't train, etc. So when we're talking about my first son, Mason, and now obviously Logan, I'm like, right, Mason's gonna become uber successful person. He's going to be in business. He's going to be a great salesperson. He's going to be an athlete. I would love him to do with boxing. And he's got the view of, no, let kids be kids. What is the right view to take? Should you put pressure on your kids to become a success, or just let it come naturally?
From my personal experience, I would always go in naturally, because I think it's important that children follow their own dreams and not their parents. Because then that's when it becomes a little bit of a problem. And And that's me talking from my own experience, or obviously me seeing it from that side of view. And a lot of people say to me about my son, oh, is he going to be a footballer? Is he going to be this? No, he's not going to be, because I've watched him play, and the simple thing is he's just not good enough.
Okay.
And he doesn't practice to be good enough. So he doesn't want to be an athlete, or he doesn't want to be a footballer. And I always just said, look, as long as you apply it and you work hard and you're nice to people and you give 100% no matter what you do, then you can't be too far off of what you want to do to achieve your goals. So that's what I always say to him. Just no matter what you do, try your best. And, I'm not going to love him any different whether he's a cleaner or he's a professional athlete. It doesn't make a difference to me. As long as he's happy, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%. Because I've looked at case studies before with like documentaries where the parent goes too hard and maybe the individual ends up being a success in that area, but other parts of their life, they start crumbling.
Yeah.
They become a bit too obsessed. There's like passion and there's obsession. And I think, sometimes the lines could be, a bit misty and therefore they start doing wrong stuff. But then on the other side of things, the parent guides them, not in a stressful way, but, professionally guides them and they become very successful and they're large in life individuals and they become a success in many areas. And this is quite fitting, I think, where Joe Kawasaki, who's from Wales, he was obviously undefeated, 47 fights and 0 losses, I think, or 46 maybe. Yeah. World champion, fought some of the greats out there. And his dad was on him, to train, keep on training. But I feel like their bond was really, really good. I feel like Joe, I don't know him. I would love to interview him if you've got any links. But I feel like he has become someone that was guided, was pushed a little bit, but his whole life seems like it's great. If I look at someone like a Michael Jackson, for example, and I'm just taking bits from the media, I never met him, and obviously I don't really know too much about his story, but it seemed like his dad was on it, and then he went kind of a bit crazy and a bit weird, Michael Jackson. So they're the kind of two random examples I've just given you about how, pushing your kids can end up.
Yeah, I think it's, the parents got to have that passion, they believe, and they see that kind of star in their child to be an athlete. For example, Joe Kawasaki, his dad probably seen something special in him to succeed as a boxer. Whereas if you don't see that in your child and they're not good enough, I think don't be blinded by that, because sometimes you can push them into an area and make the children feel a little bit vulnerable and like too much pressure on them. There's no point me putting my son in to train with, academy footballers and, professional environment right now, because he's just not, he wouldn't be good enough. So I know he needs to find his own passion. But you are right. But then Joe Kawasaki, it come down to him wanting it as well. It has to come down to the children or wanting to do as well as they can for themselves, not just the parents pushing them. The parents can only push them so far, but then you have to have the talent and the work ethic yourself to succeed. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Your own career then. So I'm doing a bit of research. Swansea, Bristol, City, Wigan, was it Wigan?
Yeah, Wigan.
Yeah, Birmingham,
yeah. Sheffield United.
Yeah. So you played for a few Premiership football teams, and then randomly, I did not expect this. Was you playing for in the Indian League?
Yeah.
That caught me by surprise. When I was researching, I was thinking,
I think
what?
It still catches me by surprise. No.
I interviewed, as I mentioned earlier, Anton Ferdinand, and he was toying with the idea of going abroad for these backing of his career. He nearly went to Dubai to play over there. And Liam Ridgewell, who's been on my podcast, he was over in America.
That's the US,
Yeah, and I think he's gone back over there to do some commentary now.
Oh, is he?
I think so, yeah. I just saw that recently. So let's just start with the Premiership, and then we obviously go on to that. So what was that like when you first walked out the tunnel and you were playing for a Premiership football team? I mean, for me, I'm talking about if Steve Sulley, walked out, I'd be blown away. I'd be like almost like, oh my God, what is happening? Like really excited. But I guess with an athlete, someone like you, you're actually coming up the ranks, and it's maybe not as a big kind of surprise because you've kind of gone through the motions and different levels of it. What was it like from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, as you say, it was a natural progression really. From I left Bristol City and I was 17, almost turning 18. I signed for Wigan, who were in the Premier League. They were an established Premier League team at that point. And I just felt that it was a good progression for me, just purely because I played with international players. I was in the Welsh squad already. And I always obviously dreamt about playing in the Premier League and being on Match of the Day. So when I was going out, obviously playing against these players, I already played against them with Wales, but doing it on a weekly basis, it was obviously a dream come true. The only time that I got taken back was, you're a young kid, you're going to play at Chelsea, you're going to play at Old Trafford, etc. And it's kind of, you need to feel that you belong there. Otherwise, you can get soon swallowed up, as you see with probably so many athletes and if not footballers. Is that kind of like the occasion just overtakes them really. And so from that point of view, I think, I loved it. It was amazing to play in the Premier League because obviously that's what I set out to do as a young kid. Yeah,
amazing achievement, mate. Talk about I'm Chelsea fan.
Chelsea fan.
Chelsea fan. I'll rephrase that. If I were to choose any team, it'd be Chelsea. I'm not massively like a football guy.
Yeah,
I do appreciate it. I do like it from occasion. I'm more boxing, because I box. I've had 15 fights. I was down boxing booth this morning, and that's my chosen sport.
Yeah, you love it.
But then, obviously, I respect and admire what footballers do. Chelsea, okay. So I've been to the stadium a bunch of times. Think what they've achieved over the years, certainly since Abramovich came in, and the years where you had Didier Drogba, John Terry, Lampard, and also Jose Mourinho. I mean, amazing stuff. What was it like when you went to somewhere like a Chelsea and you saw one of the big high-profile players? Is it just another footballer, or did you say oh my God, this is I'm playing with some of the elite people here?
Yeah, you could always sense you were on the pitch with like the best of the best. I think there's probably only 2 or 3 players where I've been in awe of, I think, since when I was playing against them. You obviously have respect for every opponent. Otherwise, if you don't work hard, you're not going to win against anyone. But I think probably Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, and probably someone like, for me, it was Ashley Cole, because obviously I played right wing. So to play against left back against him, you knew you were playing against good players. But you appreciate playing against the best, and that's what you work so hard for. There's no point, working so hard to kind of, without being disrespectful, to play at like League 2, League 1. I always believe that if you set your goals high and you set out to do it, you need to aim for the top.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point? Even when I'm going to games against my children, whether it's board games at home, wherever, I play to win.
Yeah.
That's my mentality, and it's always been the case, and it always will be.
Yeah. On that note, so Premiership footballers, obviously you got the elite, and then you got the Premiership footballers, and then you have the Championship, which when I was a bit younger, I'm 35 years of age, it used to be called Division 1, and it got changed. Yeah. What is the difference between a professional footballer in the Championship to a Premier League player?
I think probably consistency, because there's a lot of very good players in the Championship. I would personally say that the Championship is probably like the old Premier League in terms of like the quality and things, and the Premier League is like a world league, because you've got all different backgrounds and nationalities, etc. But there are very good players in the Championship as well, and it's a great level. But I think the Premier League, they're just more cutthroat. It's kind of like when a striker has a chance, they score with one chance. When it's like the Championship, they maybe need 2 chances, and so on. More and more you drop down the leagues, and that's the difference. They're ruthless. The defenders are more ruthless. They're quicker. They're stronger. Whereas the Championship, you can get away, use your pace a little bit more. But when obviously, if you're a striker playing against Van Dijk, you need a little bit more than pace and strength. It's because he's exactly the same as you, so you need a little bit more about you.
Yeah. Who would you say is the best player you've ever played against?
Probably Ronaldinho or Ronaldo. I think Ronaldinho, just because he was just that extra special. But again, when you're on the pitch against Ronaldo, you're in the presence of like greatness. And I remember in 2016 when we played against Portugal in the semi-finals of the Euros for Wales, he didn't do anything and he scored 2 goals, and that was just a difference. He just affects games even when he's having a bad game, and I think that's a sign of greatness. But yeah, they're probably the best players I've played against. But the best player I've played with is Gareth Bale by far. He steals it over gigs for me.
Really?
Yeah, he's just a freak.
See, I kind of half relate to what you're saying, because when I watch boxing on TV, you always can appreciate a good fighter.
Yeah.
But when you're there, and I'm not talking actually at a fight, I'm talking about when you're in the gym and watching them train and watching them spar. Sparring for me is a real tell sign of how good they are.
Okay.
I went to watch. I used to sponsor 2 fighters, a guy called Sam Webb and also Bradley Skeet. Both used to fight at the I Box. Both were British champion. Brad's making a comeback now. He's in Sheffield. And anyway, I went down to David Hayes' old gym, Haymaker Gym, and they used to. Adam Booth used to manage George Groves, and I watched George Groves spar 3 or 4 guys back to back, no break. So I think it was 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds. And I was in absolute awe of this guy. Like how he was moving, what he was doing, even to people heavier than him.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy is a freak of nature. Yeah. Like he is literally unbelievable. He was like a real, like almost superhero. Like he was batting these people away like they were nothing. I was thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. You don't really appreciate that unless you're there. Yeah. So with you must have seen someone like a Ronaldo. Like the moment the ball touches their feet, it must be a bit like magic.
Yeah, I think as you say, you love boxing. I was watching Usyk and AJ fight a couple of weeks ago, and even from like a spectator's point of view, you look at athletes and Usyk just moves different, like Lomachenko, they move different. They got that little bit of special about them, and even Fury as well the other night. And you can just tell from that point of view, when you obviously watch a lot of sports, you can see who's a little bit different. It's kind of like in football as well, when players are touching the ball or they're playing the right pass in the right way and the right weight. It's just little things like that, the little details that make up a huge difference. Yeah. We're separating the elite to the rest of us.
Yeah. Premier League clubs. Who is your favourite Premier League club?
My favourite Premier League, Man United. My middle name's actually George Best.
Is it?
And it's quite ironic, really, is that he's a recovering alcoholic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. And when I got married, the vicar had to read that out to me. The whole church was in hysterics. My marriage didn't last very long, but that's probably fucking why.
Well, I'm right in saying he's no longer with us, is he?
Yeah,
so let's
yeah. But he's obviously a legend. When he's actually signed my birth certificate, and when I got my birth certificate signed by him, his wife at the time, Alex, was like, "Fuck me, not another one." So it was like I had a little giggle, but he's obviously a legend, isn't he?
Yeah. So why Man United?
Just. My dad has always been a Man United fan. His dad was originally from Preston, which is near the Manchester area. So he always supported United, and it just kind of like follows suit, really. Yeah.
When you played against Man United, though, didn't you feel a bit conflicted? It was almost like, I'm playing for my team, I want to win, but I don't want to beat the team I love.
No, not at all. That didn't even come into my thoughts, really. As I say, I go to beat my children when it comes to games, so it doesn't really make a difference whether it's a team I supported as a kid. I played against my cousin, actually. Obviously, I told you I started playing part-time football, and I played against my cousin the other week, and it didn't come into my thoughts of he's going to go out there the same as well, because he got a similar mentality. He's going to be going for his team to win, and so was I. You play to win. Yeah. Otherwise, your job is on the line, and that's it.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm always intrigued about athletes and how they get fit, strong, and prepare for what they do best. I know boxing is slightly different preparation to maybe a footballer. Footballer's got a slightly different preparation to a tennis player and so on. I just admire the routine and the dedication and the pain barriers you have to go through in order to become an elite sort of superstar. Just give me just a little insight to like how you would train, your nutrition, your rest, your recovery. What is that full package like? What's the routine like?
To be quite honest, even from like a very young age, I always wanted to eat different. I kind of thought that I need to prepare myself to be different from all the other kids that were training. So it was like even little things, I was always prepared to like have the right carbs before games and so on. When I used to go to the cinema, believe it or not, I didn't used to have popcorn. I'd have like a bottle of still water, whereas like now I'm like all out attack on everything. Yeah. But I always used to try and prepare. And we're quite fortunate because, when we used to travel on the coaches, we'd have our own chef who would travel with us to make sure our obviously nutrition's like the right way. We have sports science guys there. We have everything there for us to obviously succeed. So, and obviously when we leave then the training ground or the stadium, it's just then down to us to make sure we're doing the right things. And I'd always try and do the right thing, before games. It just kind of, my drinking was the problem for me. I was always out looking to go out and get steaming. So that was the issues that I faced for many years. I wouldn't say that I had the perfect diet, but I always tried to do the right things when it was leading up to the games.
Because because I spoke, Liam, you just reminded me, because it was quite a similar thing to what Liam Ridgewell was saying. It's quite fortunate. And also Gary O'Neill.
Yeah.
Both of these guys, they said they didn't really have an issue with weight. They could eat like
Wherever, yeah.
burgers, whatever, chocolate cake, and it wouldn't really affect them. And Gary even said that his team members used to envy him because he didn't really train when they had their break. You know, some people go to pre-season training, maybe do the runs and be in the gym and stuff, and then they go into the football season. Gary didn't, and he'll get back onto the football pitch and now run everybody. Yeah. And some people are naturally got a slim waistline, and some people are naturally fit. Would you say you're kind of naturally that way, or you have to work on it?
Yeah, I would say I was naturally fit. I think I could always eat what I wanted to, and kind of, I was always, top of the running, if not the top three. And every game I was always covering, top three again in the team. And I was blessed with probably that athletic side, yeah. And I could always eat what I wanted, didn't put too much weight on. Whereas like some of your teammates, like, fucking hell, you've had a great summer, and same time off, probably eating probably less than you have, but they've come back like a balloon. So yeah, from that point of view, like fortunate. I played with Gaz actually at Bristol City. I played against him right throughout my career, and you could always see he's very fit, very slim, and he looked after himself as well. He did, obviously, as you say, he could probably eat what he wanted to, but when he was at the training ground, he was always very dedicated and very professional. Yeah.
Want to move on to like subject that, again, go back to my father-in-law.
Yeah.
He definitely resents it because of the language he speaks about. So we mentioned Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Come back over to Man United. First of all, on that subject, how do you feel about him being back at United?
I was buzzing. I just felt like United needed something, and he's a superstar, isn't he? And it's nice for him to come kind of back where he first started to make his name for himself. So from that point of view, and it's nice as well because the younger generation get to see him come back and play in the Premier League. So obviously he's not the player that he used to be, skipping past people. He's had to change his game, but he's still unbelievable.
Yeah. And also it was in and around the same sort of time that Messi went over to PSG. And the point I'm getting to is the money.
Yeah.
So Melvin, which is Emma's, my wife's dad, he's like, they're just kicking around a football, and and I challenge him. I said, Mel, you're making it sound like you can go off and do it, and you're making it sound so simple. Don't you understand the dedication they go through? And bearing in mind, a lot of people trying to become an athlete, especially a footballer, a lot of them don't make it. Most of them don't make it. I mean, it's a very, very small percentage that don't make it. So you've got to remember that they're going to sacrifice their whole childhood, lots of things like their food, nutrition, going out on the weekend, not going on boys' holidays or girls' holidays or whatever, just to try and make it in a sport, and then they don't, and then they fail at it. They don't succeed. These people have had to sacrifice and go for a lot of risk in order to get there. And also, so if you've got a problem with it, do you stop watching football games? Well, no. I said, well, you're contributing towards the perceived problem that you've got with it because you're watching it. The only reason why they're getting paid these massive figures now is because that we admire what they're doing because we're watching it on TV. If we stopped admiring, stopped watching it on TV, they wouldn't get paid as much because there wouldn't be as much money in the game. So I said, you're conflicting so anyway, we have it out all the time, and I'm like, good for them. They make £1 billion a year. I really do, because I look at life as an equal playing field, right? I think if someone can do something to a degree, I can do it as well. So if someone's making 100 million a year, I should be able to do it over time. If I put in the right work, mentality, strategy, I should be able to do it. And when I see people like Ronaldo, Messi, and all these, great players making a fortune at a relatively or a young age, I'm like, great. As long as they're nice and respectful and they're humble and they're not arseholes, and it doesn't change them as an individual, then I'm all for it. So I'm going to go back to you. Like, obviously, you playing in the Premier League, the money side of things. What was that like when you started making a lot of money?
To be quite honest, I think looking back, because obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, I think agents are an absolute nightmare because you then go from a teenager earning X amount of money to then, 16 I started getting paid. And when I look back even to now, it's still quite a lot of money when I was earning more in a week at 16 than what people would be full-time wage of, working an absolute bollocks off. And it's not that I wasn't working my bollocks off, but because I prepared all from the age of 6 for that moment of when I was 16 to make my debut, to earn that money. And going back to, obviously, what your father-in-law said, that shit pisses me off, because less than 2% of young people who want to be footballers, less than 2% make it. And if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it, because everyone would want to be earning that amount of money to be successful. The reason why they earn that much money is because, one, they're unbelievable athletes and they've worked so hard and dedicated, and all the shit that comes with it, like the pressures. Like, if you're doing something, if Ronaldo does anything bad, it's straight on social media. He's got everyone hammering him non-stop, whereas like the normal person can't deal with that shit. So it's kind of like they have to deal with that big package of outside of the game as well, to deal with the pressures, because the lights on them, the media spotlight's on them all the time. And whereas, like, people can't deal with that. That's what the problem is. And I think I was watching a documentary with the Last Dance with Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman, etc. And Dennis Rodman says something along the lines of 80% of my wages I get paid is for the bullshit that I deal with off the court. And he's so right. It's because you have to deal with bollocks. You can't go out like the normal person. You can't do things like the normal person. So the whole salary is for that reason. But yeah, going to the money side of things, I was from a council estate, so the money that I was seeing, it was not normal. And at the age of 18, I bought like an Aston Martin. I just, now looking back, I think there's not many 18-year-olds who still got an Aston Martin now, whereas like back then I just thought, I've worked so hard for this, I can buy what I want, it's my money.
Yeah. If I were to ask you this next question, but outside the podcast environment, it'd be a bit cheeky.
Yeah,
where I'm interviewing you, I'm going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
At your height, how much money was you earning every week?
Am I allowed to say this? I hate talking about the money side of things. I was on a week, which is like, now you've got like even probably people in football in like Chelsea Academy that are earning that. So from that point of view, but then it's not just that. You get the win bonuses on top, you get the appearance bonuses on top, and
gold
sponsorship,
bonus.
Everything just like all comes into play.
So you a week, then obviously the bonuses if you're winning, scoring, etc.
Yeah.
What about the endorsements by an Adidas, a Nike, or some kind of sports brand, or even a nutritional brand? Everything combined, what would you say you were up to?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard. I think it was going depends on win, lose, or draw that would come into play. So if your team's obviously having a good month, you're buzzing because you're winning, and you obviously got that coming in. But I think the main driving force was always to kind of win, because I think if you win, all the things that you've worked for, the money, the nice things will follow. So whether you use that as your target and that's your goal, the end result's still quite similar.
Yeah.
If you're successful in life, the money follows and the trophies follow. Everything's quite similar. If you go to that ambition, I'm going to win trophies, then the money follows in the same way anyway.
Definitely. I listened to an interview with David Hay before he became heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
And they said, how much money do you want to earn from the sport? And he said, don't focus on that. He said, I focus on becoming heavyweight champion of the world, and the money will come.
Exactly.
And he's very, very right. He touched on something which is definitely an interest of mine, cars. I'm doing a Gumball Rally next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, May from Toronto, Atlanta, Indy 500, Miami, and then finish in Cuba. Going to do it in Aventador. I love my cars. When I was younger, when I started making money as a salesperson, I think at 21, 22, so not quite as young as you, I bought Porsche Turbo 996, stepped it up to Lamborghini Gallardo convertible, then got a Ferrari 458, then went back to a Lambo, Bentley Super Sports. Yeah, I've had a few nice cars. I don't have one at the moment because I'm trying to be a bit sensible and build up a property company as well. But at some point, I'm going to go back to it. So when you was earning that money, what type of cars did you own?
I had loads of nice cars. Really, I had Bentleys, I had Aston Martins, I've had like G-Wagons. But from my point of view, it wasn't really. Do you know what? Having all those things, I was never really happy. I was always searching for better. I think when I bought my Bentley, I think it made me happy for about half an hour. I was always searching for something better, and that's part of my addiction. I wasn't really like my mental health. I was really in a dark place. So all these like materialistic things that I had, nice houses, nice cars, this and that, I wasn't really fucking happy.
Yeah.
And now I have way less than what I had then. and I'm a lot more happier in myself than having all those nice things around you. It's amazing is that when you have all those nice things, how many people want to be your friends?
Yeah.
And then when I went into rehab, and then came back out, when I was in rehab, actually, I only had a message off my parents when I was in rehab. And from that point, when I come out of rehab, I thought, fuck it. And so kind of like my background and my story is that it's kind of like made me more awake of what is going on. Mm-hmm. So, you know, even if I went on to do amazing, good, nice things now, I'm now in the place where I'd still surround myself with the good people that want the best for me.
Yeah.
Whereas before I was going out, spending a fortune on holidays, spending fortunes on nights out. And as soon as I stopped drinking and being that person, the generous person, I stopped having those messages and stopped having those calls because they didn't have the free nights.
Mm. It does show you, doesn't it?
It does show you, yeah. So from that point of view, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm like you. When I see people who are driving nice cars and they have nice things, I think, fuck me, fair play. You've worked hard for it, crack on. Whereas kind of like the UK culture is, if they see a Lamborghini come down the road, they think, that flash bastard. But why are they flashy? Why? Because they got a nice car. They got a nicer car than you. It doesn't mean they're flash. It doesn't mean they've worked hard to get it. But that's kind of like the culture in the UK. Not just the UK, but worldwide. We always want people to do well, but not better than ourselves.
On that note, I had two actually, I'll take that back, many experiences where people would just chuck horrible comments at you just because you were driving a nice car. And the two that stood out for me was, there was a few. When I first got my Lambo, it was bright yellow, it was convertible, and it was fucking loud. And I remember going up the high street in Bromley, and I didn't have a private plate. It was just normal. Guy turned around and goes, fucking hand it back, it's rented. And then he drove off. And I went, oh, all right. And I thought, okay, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get a private plate so then people can't say that. The moment I got a private plate, give it back to your dad. And I realised at that point, no matter what I do, and if I'm trying to become a success and enjoying certain things, someone's always going to say something. Yeah. And at 35 now, they're going to say it anyway and just fuck them. Like, that's my view. Like, literally fuck them. I don't care. Yeah. But back then, I'm not saying it was affecting me, but I used to ask myself, why are these people doing what they're doing? And then the other thing is, my business partner at the time, he had a 430 convertible, red, Ferrari, wicked car. So we chose to do a swap. I remember going to, I went somewhere to a restaurant and I parked in, it was a Lidl's car park. Anyway, as I was getting back to the car, this big fat woman come over to me and goes, oh, I thought it was someone having a midlife crisis. I said, what? She was like, I thought it was someone having a midlife crisis. You're far too young to have a midlife crisis. Why do you own this car? I was like, what? I was a bit gobsmacked. I was thinking, why would you need it to be going through a midlife crisis to buy a Ferrari? And going back to what you said, excuse me, it's like people in this country do resent people that are go-getters, strivers, and have nice things. Now, if you go to America, certain parts of America, high five, they love it, they really embrace it. I've even heard that if you take your Lamborghini or Ferrari to Italy, even the police are clapping you. It's a completely different culture. Yeah. Why do you think, you people in the UK are a little bit bitter around money?
I think it just comes down to, like what I said, I don't think not many people want you to do well or do better than them. I think they always like you just a little bit lower than what they've got, whether it's a salary, cars, houses, whatever it might be. But I think we're just programmed to be a certain way, kind of like, we have to do things at certain times in life, and we need to get a house, we need to do this and do that. But now I just think more about being happy within myself rather than all those like materialistic shit. Obviously it's nice, of course it's nice, everyone loves it. But for me, talking from my own experiences, when I did have all those nice things, it didn't really make me that much happy. I was just drinking way more. In my experience, I was like, I had more money to go and get steaming and just get in fucking trouble. But so that was my experience. But I think there's just two. I don't like plodders. I don't like people who just plod along and just like they're just happy with certain things. It's just well, there we are. I'm always kind of like ambitious. I always think, right, go and do the best of your capabilities. Even with my foundation, I'm trying to look after people to be the best that we can be, to help them in mental health and addiction. So I've always been that kind of like driven person. And I don't think you can't give that to people. You either have it or you don't. And you need to work hard. And So that's why I don't hang around with too many people like that. I just okay and just like happy to be that way. I'm always like, right, what can we do next to be better, to improve?
Yeah. I think this is a perfect segue into this next part, which is the mental health side of stuff.
Yeah.
The addiction, the alcohol, etc. I know you're a public speaker, and I think you're doing great stuff for, combating, let's say, your own ex-demons, but then also helping other people, which I think is a great thing. Part of my podcast is the reason why I started this, one, to build up my own profile, but actually, when I was younger, there was no podcast, there was no social media. We're similar sort of age, and there wasn't like I could jump onto YouTube and watch a podcast between two people, and I could take some inspiration from that and go off and do something, because I was one of these kids that come out of school had no idea what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So now with my podcast, when I interview footballers, entrepreneurs, artists, whoever, I might be one young kid, female, male, whoever, listens to it, goes, "What? I didn't know about that. That's the journey I want to follow." And I get some nice messages now about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2018, I read that you came out and said that you were suffering from like anxiety and mental health challenges, and then also addiction. So tell me about that. When you say you were challenged like with mental health issues or challenges, what do you mean by that?
Well, I was depressed. I tried taking my own life on 3 or 4 occasions. My drinking was way out of control. I think I always had that. I had mental health issues when I was 13, 14, but I kind of thought, looking back then, it was always kind of, when I was in that moment in time, it was always me searching for perfection. If I had a bad training session, I self-harm myself with my studs across my shins, and it was just like, I thought, fuck me out. At the time, I thought, I just want to be the best I can be, and I'm like frustrated with being, having a shit session. But looking back, I'm thinking, that's not normal. You were always searching for perfection, whether that's maybe with my dad always telling me, you need to be a certain way, you need to do this, you need to do that. And even the pressure that I put on myself to be different. And because, even people in my family and even people where I was brought up from, they wanted me to fail. That was part of it. When people are becoming a success, people want you to fail. So I'd use that as a driving force, thinking, fuck you, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to be that way. And so I would always search for perfection. That kind of like continued. Then I had like obviously divorce and like children involved and me not seeing my kids. So it all kind of like materialized into that depression even more and more. My drinking got out of control, and I just didn't really deal with the issues. They just got worse and worse and worse. And then before you know it, I hit the point where I did with a rock bottom and try and take, my own life. And then I knew I just had to stop drinking, because if I wasn't going to do it for me, I need to do it for my children, because I didn't want my children to have no dad. So it was just really weird and bizarre. I remember I was working in New York. I said to my friend, he said, "Fuck me, you're like a ticking time bomb when you're even having 2 or 3 drinks, you're ready to explode at any given time." That was my issue. I couldn't, even when I was in the house, I could never have like 1 glass of red wine and go to bed. It was always like, right, fuck me, 2 or 3 bottles and then go to bed. I was always like wanting more and more and more. And I remember when I was working in New York, my friend said that, and I said, when I go back home, I'm going to check into rehab. And he just started laughing at me. He said, "You can," and I was like, "Yeah, I need to, or I'm going to fucking die." And so that was my thing. It was like, kind of like, do it or die. I was never in between. Even with that, I'm never in between in anything in life. I've always been the same way. It's like, right, I'm going nuts or I'm not. I'm going shopping, or I'm going all out attack on a car, or I'm not as well. Yeah. So that was no middle ground for me ever. And I was like a similar situation. And it was really weird, because when I was in New York, it's kind of like, right, I now need to get help. And it's like, really, I was at my rock bottom. I thought there's only fucking one place to go. It's only up now, because you're literally worse than you can get. And that's when I come home. I rang the rehab and I said, "Look, get me in as soon as possible." They said, "You're going to have to wait a little while." And then they had a cancellation, and they put me in there sooner rather than later.
This is a bit of a hard question for me to ask, because it is a very delicate
it's
thing.
fine. It's fine.
But all the interviews are like an open book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just even mad what I'm about to say. But you said killing yourself.
Yeah.
How did you try and kill yourself?
So I'd always, when I was drinking, I'd get a knife. I tried on a couple of occasions, and then I'd have like a blackout, and I'd just pass out and just fall on my kitchen floor. my latest ex-wife, I was probably a fucking nightmare to live with. I pushed her probably into depression as well because she was looking after me, wasn't knowing what to come home to or what I was going to act like when I was drinking. And, I remember even when I come out of rehab, actually, I've not told this story too many times. When I come out of rehab, I went down to the beach in Wales and the tide was coming in. And I had a panic attack. I was thinking, I hope the tide comes in and just washes me away so I can just be done with this shit. And this was 2 days after rehab. I don't know whether it was coming to, terms with all the shit that I've been through. Because when you're in rehab, it's all very raw. You have to if you're not honest about everything, there's no point going in there. So I bared all my emotions and I had like a panic attack on the beach and I don't know the fuck I got up, but I managed to get off the beach eventually. I think my youngest daughter FaceTimed me, obviously, with her mum because she was still very young. And then she could realise I was very upset and I was like crying on the beach and she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, just want to die, basically. And then after that point, I kind of feel like indestructible now. I feel like people can put stuff in the media, they can write whatever the fuck they need to, and I can't be broken, basically. So it's like kind of like a weird, bizarre thing, but I wanted to die at that point and even before. And even when I was always have those dark thoughts. When I was drinking more, I don't know if I felt more brave to do it or not, but then the thoughts kept up, they were creeping in even when I was sober then. And that's when I thought, look, I need to get my shit in order. And then that's when eventually I did go into rehab.
What would you say was like your darkest moment when you was either drinking or, you had your challenges?
I was just depressed. There was times I was going in. There was even times I never used to call in. I always turned up for training. But I remember it was a few Christmases ago, and where you'd normally get a cold or the flu, I still pushed through to go to training. I was always, training and so on. But I had like a slight little cold and thought, fuck it, I'm not going in. I didn't go into training then for a little while, for like a few days. And I was always like saying, I don't feel great, don't feel that way. But I was really depressed. I was like in bed and just in a pickle.
Like the naysayers, right? And I feel like I'm ridiculing my father-in-law here. Melvin, if you're listening, which you're probably not, but I love you, mate. And sorry for digging at you. But someone like him, right? And many of the older generation that I would call just, a typical average person would say, why the fuck is he depressed? He's got all the money. He lives in a lovely house. He's got the family. He goes on holiday. He's a footballer. He's got everything. How could he be depressed? I can hear that right now, like someone saying that.
A lot of people say that.
What would you say back to those people?
Fuck you. Basically, I think it's a load of bollocks. I think if you think money makes people happy within, then you're deluded, not educated enough. I think because this is what I always say. Robin Williams is a comedian. It was obviously one of the funniest guys probably ever graced the earth. He had depression. He took his own life. But whereas if you're a footballer, it's kind of like, he's earning all this money. Why should he be depressed? When you're an actor, it's kind of, oh, so sad what you hear about him. It's the same thing. He had more money than most footballers. But when it comes to athletes or footballers, it's kind of like, it's like a different kind of stigma. It's like, oh, well, he should be happy. He's got all this. But so did he. But unless you're happy within, there's no point having these nice things. As I said to you, I had nice cars. I had this and that. But it was, I wasn't happy ever with what was going on inside my brain. So then I was like miserable. Everything was like an act. I'd see people in the morning like, oh, hi, how are you? I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. But literally, I remember when I was at Birmingham, they said, oh, morning Cots, how are you? I was like, yeah, I'm fine, blah, blah, blah. But literally 3-4 hours ago, I punched a mirror on my friend's birthday party and my bone was popping out of my knuckle here. And I literally just went to bed and they woke up. I had like a huge email off the hotel where I stayed. They said, oh my God, what happened? The blood's everywhere. We can't even see the white sheets. It was that much blood. But at that time I was thinking, I hope I bleed out to death. Like from that. And then next, I'm in training and someone's saying, how are you this morning? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Because I put on that mask to kind of like show, oh, I'm absolutely fine. But deep down I was like, I was in a dark place and I wasn't good.
And the drinking and also being in that kind of that rut, how long did it last for?
Oh, years. I was just like, people always used to say to me, you know, when I was like, my agent was like saying, you're playing really well, but all these football clubs and these managers think that you love a night out. I fucking did love a night out. I was always out. But I was never kind of, at football clubs, it's kind of like, you know, you're drinking and we can smell alcohol on you, but we don't want the manager to, if the manager finds out, you're going to be in trouble. But there's no real ever support to say, well, why are you drinking so much? Can we be a support network for you? It was never that. It's kind of like, well, you can be someone else's problem. And I think that's just the way it was. I was always out. And even if I couldn't get my close friends, I'd pay for someone else to come out with me just to pay their nights, because I didn't really want to go out alone and things like that. So I was kind of like asking people that wouldn't normally hang around with, just come on a night out so I can get steaming.
Yeah. I had Jack Fincham on my podcast, I think a week ago. Was it a week ago? Yeah, a week ago. Weeks and days, and they're blending into each other. And he's obviously got a very, very big following. I think 1.9 million followers, obviously verified winner of Love Island 2018. And he said something to me. He said, when you become like a bit of a profile and a big following, you're never alone.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, if I go out right now, I'm never alone because people know who I am and they're on me. I could be in a restaurant. I could be in a taxi. He actually showed me a message in his DMs. So he was proving his theory by showing me a live example. He said, look at this. Went into his DMs, hadn't opened it, so I knew it was all genuine. Yeah. Opened it up because I went to meet him at Piccadilly to bring him over. It said something along the lines of, jeans and your Chelsea boots, you know, that doesn't go. That's appalling how you're dressed, or something like that. He said, this is the abuse I get by even just dressing a certain way. So obviously being a footballer, you know, would you say that you're never really alone because you are in the public eye?
I have two different views on this. One is when I was really depressed, I could be in a room with 1,000 people or 10,000 people and I still felt alone, if that makes sense, within myself. So it doesn't matter who the fuck was around me. I felt like alone. So I didn't, even you could have like loads and loads of people around me, I just didn't feel like mentally there. So I felt alone in that sense. And I was watching, do you know what? It's funny you say that. I was watching the documentary the other night on Paul Merson's addiction with gambling. And most addicts are pretty much the same, you know, whether it's gambling and drinking, you know, drugs or whatever it might be. It's all pretty much the similar kind of like stories, backgrounds. And he said something, he feels like a bit of a loner. I think even to this day, I still feel like that way, really, because I'm only happy when I'm out walking my dogs or with my children. Other than that, I just feel I feel different to other people. And even though, obviously, what Jack has said there, yeah, I get online abuse on a daily basis, and it doesn't make it that's normal. I remember the first lockdown, I think they brought out the rules of, you know, you couldn't travel from Wales to England, and my daughter lives in England. And I think I put something on my Instagram story of me coming back from England over to Wales when you go over the Severn Bridge, and the abuse I've got off people saying, you don't have no fucking respect for these COVID rules, you don't have this, da, 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 da. And it was literally the rules that come out. You can actually travel to go and see your children if you obviously live in different houses. And I thought, me being who I am, I thought, well, you wouldn't fucking stop me anyway from seeing my children. If I want to see my kids, they're my kids. The government or whoever else shouldn't be dictating to humans of having their right over their children. That should be their one right they have. So I thought, fuck that.
There could be a World War III. Yeah. No one's stopping me seeing my kids.
Exactly. So I just thought, well, I've done nothing wrong. I've gone over to see my daughter, who was actually, I think it might have been her birthday or something like that, and I've gone to see her, and I've drove back with her. I didn't do anything wrong in the rules and regulations. But that's kind of like some of the hate that you'd get of like these stupid idiots trying to dictate whether I can see my children. I thought, if you just moan about anything.
Yeah. I think you've actually just got me. I'm remembering when I was looking at your post before I reached out to you about this whole COVID and stuff, and I'm on the same wavelength as you. And I found you via Tyson, Alkaline Humanism. Shout out to him because in recent years, not fully plant-based yet, but I've gone pescatarian almost for 3 years now, and I'm mostly plant-based, and then on the weekend.
Feel better for it?
I prefer it, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. And when I went on that journey and I found you and stuff, and it seems like we all got like a very, very similar view, so I do want to get to it.
Yeah.
Just want to finish off on the sort of 2 points, the addiction side and also the social media side, Because actually, I think some of them are quite related a little bit. The drinking, was it just drink or was there drugs as well?
No, it was just drink. It was quite when I was obviously playing professionally. You know, when I used to go out, obviously drugs is everywhere. Alcohol, drugs is everywhere. It's accessible. If anyone wants it, they can fucking get it anyway.
My business partner says this all the time. He says you walk into a bar and you ask someone for a chewing gum. You might have to ask 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, and then you will get it. If you ask them for, I don't know, some cocaine or something like that, you'll get it within 2 people.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, mine was just drink. But bizarrely, when I used to go out in nightclubs, I would always have my hand over my drink because I used to think I never want to get anyone spiked. And I just used to have that thought that if I got drug tested, I didn't want to fail a drug test for me being in football. I didn't want my career to end that way. But then on the flip side of things, I was just probably killing myself in that sense of just getting drunk anyway and not preparing myself or being the good athlete that I should have been. But yeah, I was just purely drink. I didn't want to fail a drug test to get banned. I was always very aware of like that. I just wanted to go out and get absolutely pissed.
Mm-hmm. You're on social media then. Like I said, we're very similar age. I'm a bit older than you.
Yeah.
I remember life without social media, and now I'm in life with social media, and I'm a bit worried about the younger demographic because I can see them getting pulled into it, and I can see the mental health issues, the addiction off the back end of it, and all that kind of stuff. Social media as a footballer, do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's something that can take over your life?
It takes over your life. I think it takes over everyone's life. I think it's kind of, you have to be careful of who you follow. I think you have to be careful who you follow in real life, and then you have to be careful who you follow on social media as well, because you can be sucked into it. Like everyone you see nowadays, it's kind of like if you go to restaurants, everyone's on their phone. No one's having real conversation these days, and it's just like everyone's just lost with that. And I think the children now, I think there's a huge rise in mental health from the online bullying, because everyone has to live up to an expectation. They're all following these, profiles of these celebrities. They're not even real because they're always like thinking they look perfect, but they're not. They're having all these operations done. They're putting all this makeup on. They're, and doing this and doing that. And it's all fake. It's all for social media. You might look happy on social media, but deep down, are they really happy behind closed doors? And I think that's where the generation are getting confused, because they're looking at all this. They're trying to live to a certain lifestyle and to maintain that kind of look. And it's just not possible. It's really not possible. Like all the kids are online now, judging their lives, comparing their lives obviously to them as well. And the bullying to look a certain way in school, everything's to do with media, isn't it?
And do you know, like I've got a love-hate relationship with social media. I love it because it helps to boost my podcasts. And do you know what? Back in the day, when I used to look at footballers, boxers, celebrities, high-profile people, if I saw them, I'd be like, whoa, that person, X, Y, Z. See them in a magazine, see them on TV, but that is it. Now I feel like I can get to them, hence even me reaching out to you. So it is a blessing because I can connect with great people from all across the world, and I can do some good business. The downside to it is you need to use social media, not let social media use you. Yeah. And as you just said, people have been pulled into a virtual world, a world that doesn't exist, but people posting on it are purporting. I even look at even myself. I'm only posting a picture if I like how I look in it. I'm never going to put up one where I look like a cunt in that one. Should I put that one up? It doesn't happen. So your advice to anyone like a young person and using it, what type of advice would you give them about social media?
I think from just not spending too much time or having that balance, like what you just said there, kind of like using social media for a good way and good platform to maybe succeed or your interest that you like, rather than looking at other people and trying to live your life the way they do. Live your own life, don't let everyone else dictate to you what you're doing. I think, but these social media platforms now are so, they're so clever in the sense of they just suck all these, people, even adults, they suck people in, I think Facebook or Twitter or Instagram crashed the other day. I was fucking loving it. I thought, yes, I can have that break.
And WhatsApp crashed, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like buzzing all those, and I just thought, wow, I don't have no messages for 24 hours, wherever it was. I was loving it.
Yeah.
Crack on with my life. Whereas, people were just like, wow, I'm so lost with these things, but why should we be lost without that? We should be lost without normal conversations with people doing normal things rather than like social media dictating to us.
Definitely. What is, as a footballer, someone's got a great following on social media, Instagram, you're verified, etc. Let's start with what's the worst comment or worst direct message you've ever got from one of the followers?
I think probably it was going back quite a few years ago now, but my middle child was a young girl then, and someone messaged me saying, I wish I could rape your daughter and she dies. So I'm
actually taken back.
So that's probably, and I think they called her a slut as well, and she was like really young. She's only 11 now, so we're going back like quite a few years ago, and I got a message like that. Whereas if I got that now, I think I'd probably react in a different way, just purely because people are maybe getting, Twitter and these social media are trying to sort a few things out. I don't think they're doing a fucking great job of it, but they're trying to sort things out a little bit more than they used to. But then it was kind of like, it was a sad reality that I was used to it. Not something to that extent, because I was fucking raging off it. I wanted to kill that person if I could get near that person.
So if I can ask this question then, sorry to repeat it, but after someone said they wanted to rape, kill, whatever, your daughter, abuse your daughter, how did you respond?
I actually blocked that person because I just thought, you just want to bite off me. But if I've seen that person in real life, I'd have fully fucking killed him. Just pure, like, I just thought, who the fuck do you think you are? Like, who do you think, like, speaking about someone's child like that, and even speaking about any adult that way is not right. To speak about my own daughter that way, I was beyond raging. I can't even put it into words, really. I just can't imagine that happening to me, but no doubt. The sad reality is kind of like, when you hear, the Black Lives Matter, all these athletes are getting racially abused online. It's sad because I'm kind of, obviously, from that comment that I just told you about there, it's obviously not as bad as what these probably guys are getting on a daily basis, but it's kind of like being in a spotlight. It's weird that you become used to these comments, and you shouldn't have to, because you're a human as well. I just don't think these platforms are doing enough, nowhere near enough. They all portray they are, though. But they just do what they want to make sure that their platforms are well fucking liked or not.
Well, I mean, if you really think about it, and I do not agree with this at all. I'm voicing probably from their perspective. It's not in their interest to censor any of these people on them kind of subjects, on things like racism and stuff like that, because they know the moment that they are racist, then people are going to jump on that person, and it means more activity on their platform. Yeah. They, at the end of the day, whether something is pro or against or whatever, they want activity. The more and more people use it, the better it is for them.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're ever really going to stop it. I mean, they say they want to, because publicly and commercially that's the right thing to say. Yeah. But really, I mean, if it comes down to they're going to make more money because people have been racist and, they're slandering people and they're, being aggressive, or they're going to make less money but they're going to be a cleaner platform, I don't honestly think they're going to go to make less profit.
Well, it's like all these companies, with like medicines, pharmaceutical companies and things like that. It's like healthy people don't make money. Only sick people make these companies money. So it's kind of like the similar with the social media. They want that active, they want that kind of like hatred online, because more people are going to follow then.
Yeah.
And that's a sad reality. Whereas you have healthy people and healthy conversations online, it's like the same thing as the media. Bad press, it sells in the newspapers. A similar thing, like not many people want to see others doing well because it's not going to sell the newspapers, it's not going to sell online and things,
Going back to Jack Fincham, right? So I had an hour and something conversation with him. We spoke about boxing. We spoke about, because he's a good boxer, wants to become professional. We spoke about loads of positive stuff, and he mentioned halfway through that he tried to commit suicide by taking an overdose at Christmas, and then he lost his nan, etc. The Daily Mail, Sky, Metro, a bunch of others all wrote about the podcast, and the only thing they mentioned was that. And I'm thinking this is testament to the fact that these newspapers will only write about mostly negative things because that's what sells and that's what's interesting to the viewers.
Yeah.
What about the other stuff we spoke about? We spoke about really good stuff, but you just homed in on that guy wanted to commit suicide, which is mad. So I want to get to this next part, touch on it, and then I want to finish the podcast talking about your foundation because I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
When I meet people that think like me in this area of the COVID-19 and stuff, I feel like it's my like lost brother or something. Like, because when my dad, again, my own dad, and also my father-in-law, they're from the older generation. And the older generation, most of them get all their information from the media, mainstream media, BBC, newspapers, etc. If it's not on there, then in their world, it doesn't exist, or it's not important enough to talk about.
Yeah.
But in our generation, we still have that, but then social media's come in, and there is a lot of fake information on social media and on the mainstream news, and there's also some good information. The difference is, if the mainstream media say something, you can't challenge it because there's no one you can't phone up the report and go, hey, what you just said there is a load of bollocks. You can't. But with social media, if someone says something, okay, I'm going to cross-reference that and see if it's right. And then you start to find maybe other truths or more of the conversation that they forgot to talk about.
Yeah.
So COVID-19, you probably guessed from my tone where I'm coming from. I think it's been overplayed. I absolutely am against this whole thing about censoring people having a view on it. I hate that. And I'm very, very against this. They're talking about mandating the vaccination. For me, I'm 35 years of age. I'm healthy, keep myself fit. I think I had coronavirus. I fucking kicked that thing's ass. I would take coronavirus 7 days a week, twice on a Sunday. I would absolutely eat it up. So there's no need for me to go down that path. And I think if you share the same view, then there's no need. However, if you are of an older age and you feel vulnerable and you feel, you know what, I want it, or any age and you want it and you feel like it's going to protect you, then great. I'm pro-choice, not pro-forcing people to do certain things. So your perspective, David, where do you stand with it all?
I think I'm similar to you. I think everyone should have a choice.
Yeah.
I think if you're fit and healthy, why would you go and have a vaccine that is not needed for you? Because I had COVID as well, probably about 2 or 3 Christmases ago, and I just felt tired. I was in bed for a little bit. Just felt like a flu.
Yeah.
But my query is that, again, the government, all this and all that, are trying to dictate what my children can have in their bodies or not. And it's quite funny because against for you to, other people using drugs, blah, 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 but then they're forced out on a experimental drug, which is not proven to be 100% right, but they all want you to have it. There's loads of people dying who have had the vaccine, but again, the media only shows you what they want you to see. It's because all these big organizations, they run the media. They're not showing you who's dying and who's not, because I know many stories, and I'm sure you do as well. Friends, people that I know, their parents or so have had it, and they've gone blind. Some have had heart attacks, have had blood clots, etc., etc. And I just think these are fit young people who didn't really need to have it, but they've been forced to have it. How many people probably went out and had these vaccines because they thought they were going to go on holiday? They didn't go on holiday because they put another lockdown in place and you couldn't travel here, there, and everywhere. So that's part of, I think it's
the manipulation.
Yeah, it's kind of like part of the control thing that the people, all these big organizations out there are trying to get us to do. And I don't think it's right. I've told my children, if they think about putting the vaccine on you in school, walk the fuck out, and I won't take you to that school. I've actually told them there, and I've emailed the school saying, if you want to give my children vaccines, it's not happening. I'm against it totally. Because, as you say, the vulnerable people, whether it's young children and their parents want to decide that that's right for their children, have it. If the older people want to have it for their own self, then crack on. But we should have a choice to have it or not have it.
Yeah.
Why are we getting told to do things?
Yeah.
And then, the deaths have gone down to do with normal flu. Why? because they're probably making up the numbers. They don't know what's going on, in my opinion, but that's maybe a chat for another time. I don't think you should. I personally won't have the vaccine because that's my choice not to put something in my body that I don't think is truly what they're saying it is.
So when I was having a conversation with my dad's like very, I tell you what, my mum and dad are polar opposites. Do you know David Icke?
Yeah, I love him.
Right, think about a female version of David Icke.
And that's your mum,
That's my fucking mum.
Yeah.
She will sit here right now and tell you everything and anything, a report by a doctor, study from a university, etc. She knows it because she goes out there and researches it. She also listens to talk radio, and I like talk radio because they got talk sport as well.
Yeah.
Talk radio because they have for and against, and I love it. I think a healthy debate is so important. But the BBC won't have that, or the other mainstream thing. So I started listening to that a lot more, and then my dad is very all the conspiracy theories and all that rubbish you listen to. No, these doctors won't get it wrong, these scientists, and he doesn't understand that. Like you said, healthy people don't make people money. You have to be sick or perception of maybe becoming sick to make money. It's a business at the end of the day. And they're over-exaggerating the numbers because what they're doing is the moment that someone's tested positive for corona and they've done a car crash, they've died of coronavirus and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So my dad's like, no, you should have it. You've got to have it and stuff like that. And the point I'm trying to make is this. Before coronavirus was a known thing, because it's been around for many years, but before it was highlighted, no one ever used to come over to you and go, oh, have you had the flu vaccine this year? Rarely. Yeah. Or have you had this vaccine or that vaccine? And no one ever used to dictate it to you. Now it's a dictation. And I'm saying to my dad, if I was threatened by it, then I would definitely consider it.
Yeah.
If something's not a threat to me, then why the hell should I take it? Yeah. And then guess what the next argument is? Oh, it's to protect the older people. So you're telling me that an older person has had the vaccine because their perception is to be protected. Does it work? Yes, it does work from your point of view. Okay. So why the fuck do I need to do a vaccination to protect them against something that they feel they're already protected against? That makes no logical sense.
My thing is, which blows my mind, is that you can have the double vaccinations, but you can still carry COVID. If it was that good, why is it not protecting you from having it? And also with the NHS staff of like, again, you're reading in the media and you see it online and things like that, is that people are losing their jobs if they don't have the vaccine.
Disgusting.
But I thought the masks used to protect us before the vaccine. So if they were that good and everyone had to wear them, why is that a problem? So if they're going to get the sack, just wear the mask and they would protect them, like they've always been telling everyone.
It's all hypocritical and it's all inconsistent.
Yeah, there's too many inconsistency. There's no forward thing that's going on. I think people actually have genuinely had enough. Whereas, when you go into the gym, it's bonkers. Like when you're going on one bit of apparatus and then you're wearing your mask to go to the other bit of apparatus. I walk around with no mask on.
Yeah.
And I've been the same in supermarkets, et cetera, because there's just too many different inconsistencies, but it's just bonkers.
It's like even look, and I know if someone's going to be listening to this and there's going to be a hater out there,
of course.
They're going to go, you're not a fucking doctor, you're not a scientist. I know I'm not claiming to be, but I am someone that reads data.
Yeah.
And I am someone that researches if I'm passionate about an area. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist or a doctor to work out that certain things are inconsistent. I mean, even the thing about the sanitizing your hands, that is kind of ridiculous because your hands have got natural oil on it. And that natural oil is designed to protect you against certain things that you come into contact with. When you put alcohol from the sanitizer on your hands, for that 30 seconds or a minute, it works.
Yeah.
Because it obliterates everything. But guess what else it obliterates? Your natural oils.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're more open to problems like diseases or dirt or bacteria because you've wiped out all the good stuff. And now your hand is dependent on that epoxy stuff. That's why I never do it.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, you're not interacting. When we were in the lockdowns, you're not interacting with other people outside your household, so your immune system's not getting challenged. And so when you're then eventually coming back out into the real world for a little while, you are prone to get more illnesses and things because you're actually out there. Whereas because your immune system's just been fucked because you've been locked away for so long.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessary about, for me, like what I say, the real pandemic is mental health, in my opinion, because you've locked people away who've been mentally fucked. And again, there's still no real support for that. But they like to do all these tick box exercises saying they're doing things. They're not doing anything. The only thing they're promoting is COVID. I'm fed up of hearing about it, fed up of reading about it. And I think life needs to now move on. But people should have the choice. Whether you're on the vaccine, have it. If you don't, then don't. Then don't be, abusing people just because that's their choice. Yeah, don't dictate. And especially to our children, we should have the right to tell our children what to do. That's the only probably rights we do have in this world. I'm not going to have that get said to me because, as you say, that will be like World War III then. Because
I think what people don't realise is if you bend over backwards now and you conjure down to what is going on here, and this is not about being a rebel for the sake of it. It's about standing up for your own human rights. You are literally giving them a ticket to do what they want when they want.
What next?
Because I said to my dad when the first lockdown happened, and I said, look, second one's pending because they're talking about it in the media. And the sentiment is there. They're laying the foundation. He said, no, it's impossible. They wouldn't do another lockdown because everyone would go skint and broke. Yeah. And it happened. And I said, Dad, until we actually say enough's enough now, this is going to continue happening. I personally still feel they might try and introduce something like towards the back end of the year. I get that little bit impression sometimes.
Yeah. Like Christmas time, probably.
Yeah, because they say, when things flare up again, like they're teeing you up. And it's like, no, bollocks to that.
Yeah, but what about when, mental health is more people are dying off mental health or more people are dying off flu before when they had the...
Or cancers.
Or the spikes in that. That's my issue, is that I was listening to something the other week and it was a video that was publicised on Twitter, and this one guy, he rung the hospital to see... he rung the doctor to see a GP, and he had concerns about his health. And the GP just said, look, we can't see you because of all COVID things, blah, blah, blah. For 3 or 4 months later, he's then rung back up with the same issues. But before that, they sent him out some maybe medication to try and help a little bit. But if he would have seen the GP, he would have obviously rectified the problem. He got diagnosed with cancer and he was going to not live the year out, basically. And so other people are dying through other things, but they're only concerned about COVID.
I've given this weird analogy before, and it is probably a stupid one, but I'm going to say it. It's like a terrorist, one single terrorist, let's call it Osama bin Laden or whoever, and even I don't even know if he's a real terrorist. It might have been the media making it up. But anyway, it's like an individual, right? High-profile terrorist, and they're after him or her. And they're in this city, and they say, right, we found him. We're going to send a nuclear bomb onto him. They send it down, blows up the area. Yes, we got him. But what about all these other people you just killed? Yeah, but we got him. But you've killed everyone else. Yeah. And that's exactly what it's like. Yeah, let's lock down. Let's give on a vaccination. Let's dictate to people what they've got to do. Yeah, we got rid of COVID. Yeah, but you fucked up everything else, along the way. And this is why I believe there's more to it, because these politicians or people in power, they're not stupid. No. They're business people. They're entrepreneurs. They're forward-thinking people. There must be more to it than let's decimate all businesses in the economy. Let's make people lose their jobs. Let's also destroy their companies, and at the same time, let's ruin their mental health and the way they look at life. All in an act to try and wipe out COVID. The logic is just not logical at all. I get frustrated when other people can't see it, because it's quite obvious what's going on. Yeah.
It's like crazy, isn't it? Because I always think that is, when supermarkets and certain things were closing down, but then Mackie D's were opening and all these big fucking franchises, but then they're giving you shit food. Why are the healthy places not allowed to open? Why are you not able to go to the gym to keep healthy, to get fit? Well, you're just going to stay at home. We're going to feed you shit so you can all get out of hand mentally and physically.
Well, in America,
in a bad place.
In America, certain states are either giving you a free burger
to go get your vaccine.
To go and get your vaccine, or I think in California they were giving you weed. Yeah, so smoke some weed. I mean, I are you thick?
That's
like,
what I mean. If it was like purely to get people healthy, I don't think, why would you give someone unhealthy food to go with something that's supposed to make you healthy?
It's totally
bizarre.
It's totally backwards. Look, I could talk about this subject till I'm blue in the face. I'm going to just segue over to this more positive subject, which is your foundation. This is the last part of the conversation. So, you're a public speaker now.
Yeah.
I know you're part-time footballer. A quick question actually about that, because when you said it, it just something come to me. What like part-time and also been in the Premier League? Is it like? Do you sometimes feel like, I want to be back in the Premier League, or like?
No, I think I've had my career and I was very like fortunate and blessed to be there. I think just playing part-time suits me now. I think I can get to do other things like see my children, work on my foundation and try and help others in different aspects of life, rather than just being purely football full time.
Okay.
My life is taking a different turn. And I get to still be involved in football, try and hopefully help like the younger generation coming through, whether I'm passing on knowledge about football or mental health. I think a lot more people speak to me about mental health than what they would have done before, because they know that I've been there, whereas those conversations wouldn't have happened if I didn't openly speak about it. That's what I do, and it keeps me ticking over a little bit and healthy.
So the foundation then, it's to do with addiction, mental health and stuff. Can you give us a bit more details about that?
Yeah, so what we do, we help people with mental health and addiction. So we kind of, in the local area in Cardiff, we kind of create that healthy body, healthy mind. So we have people go to the gym, we do like different activities, we go into schools to help the younger generation, the kids that are not having maybe the right support at home, or they feel that they're not academically good, but we're trying to look at different channels for them to do better in other areas, whether that's like, physically or other supports. And we do a lot of work with the homeless as well, because I feel I have that kind of like a similar real issues that they had. Is that I'm quite fortunate really that I didn't go homeless, but most people on the streets have had some sort of addiction. So I kind of like relate to them a lot as well, and that's what we want to try and do, help people with addiction and mental health. And hopefully we'll just keep kicking on a lot more. We have, big plans that we're going to work with schools and trying to be proactive with the younger generation rather than reactive when they get, a lot older and they think, fuck, we could have obviously stopped that. But that's what we're trying to do, trying to help as many people as possible.
That's great. And there's more to it than this next question. But if you were to give one bit of advice to someone who is suffering with either addiction or mental health challenges, what would that advice be?
Ask for help. I think for me personally, when I first openly spoke about my depression and my alcoholism, is that when I asked for help, I was then able to get better. So if you're in denial unless you're an alcoholic or anyone with addiction, unless you want it for yourself to be better, you're never going to do it. Any family member can say, look, you need to get help, you need to do this. But if that individual don't want it for themselves, they're never going to be on the road to recovery. And I think the same is with mental health as well. Unless you want to be better and do better for yourself, you're not going to want it. You're not going to do it. So, but speaking about things, it's just like a huge weight off your shoulders, and you can then be on the recovery, whether that's for mental health or your addiction.
Your foundation and also yourself, where can people find all this information? How can people follow you?
Yeah, so we're on, my Instagram is David Cotterill 11. Twitter is exactly the same, and then there's David Cotterill Foundation on Instagram and Twitter as well. So if anyone needs any support, we've got a team there who can obviously point you in the right directions as well.
And is it just to do with addiction across every aspect?
Yeah, every aspect, all addiction, all mental health issues. Yeah, and if we can't obviously help ourselves, we'll point you in the right direction to get the best support off, other areas.
Amazing. One more question now, okay? I've got a mantra at the end of my podcast. I say, be happy, never content. Now, I've got my own reasons why I say it. I want to ask you, David, what does be happy, never content mean to you?
Be happy is always be happy within yourself for me, and not be happy what others are doing around you. Focus on you. If you're happy yourself, then you can help others. Being content, I don't think I'll ever be content, because I always want to be better than I was yesterday. I always like push my boundaries and push that way. So I don't think I'll ever be content in life, because I always want to think about what can we do next to be better.
Yeah. So the saying I've got, and I'll put it actually in my gym. I built a gym at home. It's be happy, never content. And my thing is, you can always find happiness even in the darkest moments. There's always silver lining. never be content by just keep on pushing on and growing and being the best version of yourself. Right. So this episode is going to be shared on TikTok and YouTube, on the iTunes App Store, and many other places, including Instagram. If you liked the conversation, please follow David and also follow his journey. Obviously, comment, review, share it, all that good stuff, and be happy, never content. Nice one. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks for your time.